3 weeks ago, I received a message that I couldn't ignore. It was sent by a woman named Carmen. She is 63 years old and lives in Guadalajara. This is what she said. I'm going to read it exactly as it is because I want you to hear her exact words. Doctor, I had routine tests done, and the doctor told me that my kidneys are not doing well. But I don't have any pain. I have never consumed alcohol. I eat fairly well. I do what I can. How is it possible that my kidneys are damaged if I have never felt anything? That last part, how is it possible if I have never felt anything, stayed in my mind because Carmen is not alone in this. There are thousands of people like her, maybe you are one of them right now, who are doing something completely normal, something that no one has told them is a problem. And that habit is affecting their kidneys silently, without pain, without clear signals, without warning. And the hardest part of all this is that this habit doesn't look bad. In fact, many times it seems correct, it seems responsible, it even seems healthy. Today we are going to talk about that. We are going to talk about what the kidneys of someone over 60 need you to know. And I'm going to ask you to stay until the end, because the last part of this video, the story of Carmen, will show you exactly where this can lead when things are done right. Before introducing myself, I want to tell you exactly what you are going to take away from this video today. Number one, you are going to understand the exact mechanism by which kidneys after 60 deteriorate without showing signs. Not vaguely, but with names, with logic, and with metaphors that will stay clear in your mind forever. Because when you understand the mechanism, you stop fearing the problem and start being able to do something about it. Number two, I am going to show you the specific habit we are talking about, how to identify it in your daily life, and what concrete change you can start making today, not next week, today. Number three, at the end of the video, I will give you a 3-minute ritual, 3 steps, 1 per minute, that you can do tonight before going to bed to start protecting your kidneys from tomorrow. Without supplements, without prescriptions, and without changing everything you eat. 3 things: mechanism, solution, and action. That is what this video will give you. My name is Martín Herrera. I am an internal medicine doctor with a specialization in preventive nephrology. I have spent 25 years supporting people over 50 with kidney, metabolic, and cardiovascular problems. I have worked in clinics in Mexico, Colombia, and Argentina. I have seen patients in private practices and in public health centers, and I can tell you that after 25 years, the pattern repeats itself. The people who arrive with silent kidney damage are almost never the ones who neglected their health. They are almost always the ones who believed they were doing the right thing. And that is exactly what I want you to take away today as the first reframing. The kidney does not get damaged because you neglect it. It gets damaged because no one taught you how to take care of it after 60. That is the core idea of what we do here. We are not here to blame you. We are here to give you information that you should have had years ago. One more thing before we continue. Write in the comments which city or country you are watching me from today. Not only does it help me understand where my community is, it also allows me to understand which dietary habits are more common in each region, because the problem we are going to talk about today varies a lot depending on where you live and what you eat. Write your city. I'll read you there below. Now, let's get to the heart of it. Why are the kidneys of someone over 60 so vulnerable to this silent damage? There are 3 biological forces acting at the same time, and when all 3 come together, the damage progresses without you feeling absolutely anything. I need you to understand all 3, because the solution addresses all 3, and if you only deal with one, the other 2 will keep working against you. The first force is the filter that is no longer new. Imagine you have a water filter at home, the kind that is installed under the sink. When it is new, it filters everything perfectly. It retains what is not useful and lets clean water pass through. But that filter has a certain lifespan, and after 40 or 50 years of use, even if you take good care of it, the internal membrane starts to wear out, the pores become larger, it begins to let things pass that it used to retain, and it also starts to clog more easily. That is exactly what happens with the kidneys after the age of 60. The kidneys have microscopic filters called glomeruli, which are basically the filtering units. Each kidney has approximately 1 million of them. The problem is that starting at age 40, we begin to lose glomeruli naturally. It is physiological. It is not a disease, it is part of normal aging. But by the age of 60, that loss is already significant. Longitudinal studies, such as the one published in the American Journal of Kidney Diseases in 2018, found that kidney function, measured as glomerular filtration rate, the rate at which the kidneys clean the blood, decreases by approximately 1% per year starting at age 40. That may seem small, but by the age of 65, that accumulated 1% per year can represent a decline in function of 20 to 30% compared to when you were 40. And that is with normal aging, without any habit that accelerates it. The problem is that most of the habits we are going to talk about today actually accelerate it. That is the first problem. The filter has already had years of use. It is not broken, but it is no longer new, and it requires less stress to deteriorate. Now imagine that in that same house, in addition to the worn-out filter, the pipes that carry water to the filter are also narrowing. What happens then? Even if the filter tries to work properly, less water reaches it, with lower pressure, and impurities begin to accumulate even before they get to the filter. That is exactly what uncontrolled high blood pressure does inside the kidneys. According to data from the Pan-American Health Organization, about 68% of people over the age of 60 in Latin America have hypertension, and a significant percentage of them have it controlled in the arm, on the blood pressure monitor, but not in the small vessels that supply the kidneys. These small vessels are called afferent and efferent arterioles, and they are responsible for carrying blood to and from the glomerulus, the filter we talked about earlier. When blood pressure remains chronically high, these arterioles become stiff and narrow, causing the kidney to receive blood at excessive pressure and speed, which damages the filtration membrane. It's like spraying a coffee filter with water at maximum pressure. It may hold up for a moment, but not forever. The most important thing is that this process doesn't hurt. There is no warning signal, and the pressure inside the kidney's blood vessels cannot be felt from the outside. There is also a third mechanism that very few people know about, and in my opinion, it is the most dangerous because it appears harmless. Imagine having a security guard in your house whose job is to detect threats and respond quickly when there is danger. However, this guard has been on the same shift for years and is completely exhausted. When someone enters, even if they shouldn't be there, he no longer reacts with the same speed or strength. That guard represents your kidney's inflammatory system. With aging, especially after the age of 60, kidney tissue develops what researchers call chronic low-grade inflammation. This is not the kind of inflammation you see when you twist your ankle, visible, painful, and sudden, but rather a silent, persistent form that you cannot see or feel, yet it remains active all the time. This constant inflammation behaves like a tired guard who no longer responds effectively. It fails to clear accumulated waste from kidney tissue, does not repair the minor daily damage, and allows damaged cells to build up until the problem becomes serious. A meta-analysis published in 2020 found that elevated inflammatory markers, particularly C-reactive protein and interleukin-6, are present chronically in more than 70% of patients over 60 with early kidney impairment who had never been previously diagnosed. In simple terms, the guard has been asleep for a long time, and no one noticed. Before discussing the solution, it's important to understand something crucial. When people discover that their kidneys are not functioning well, their first instinct is to do more, drink more water, exercise more, take supplements, or completely eliminate salt. While this reaction is understandable, some of these actions, when done without proper knowledge, can actually worsen the three mechanisms we just discussed. Drinking excessive amounts of water at once can overload an already weakened filter. Completely eliminating sodium can disrupt the delicate pressure balance inside the kidney's blood vessels. Certain supplements, especially popular ones, are processed by the kidneys and can increase their workload at a time when they are least capable of handling it. The habit we are about to discuss falls exactly into this category. It seems healthy, responsible, and is often recommended by someone trustworthy, yet it negatively affects all three mechanisms at once. That habit is excessive and unregulated protein consumption, especially among people over 60 who increase their protein intake based on medical advice, fitness trends, or family suggestions without understanding how the aging kidney functions. Many people immediately think that protein is essential to prevent muscle loss, and that is absolutely true. The problem is not the recommendation itself, but the missing part of it, the context that is rarely explained. When you consume protein, your body breaks it down and produces nitrogenous waste, primarily urea. This urea must be eliminated from the body, and the kidneys are responsible for doing so. A young kidney with around 1 million functioning glomeruli can handle this workload efficiently. However, by the age of 60, the body has already lost about 20 to 30% of its filtering capacity. As a result, when protein intake increases, the remaining glomeruli are forced to work harder to compensate. This creates a situation where protein leads to more urea. The kidney struggles to filter it, and the filter becomes overloaded. The remaining functional units must take on extra work, which accelerates their deterioration. It is like asking 7 filters to do the work that 10 used to do. Each one works harder and wears out faster. This process is known as compensatory hyperfiltration and is one of the most well-documented mechanisms behind chronic kidney disease progression. A study published in 2019 found that diets containing more than 1.3 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day were associated with a significantly faster decline in kidney function in adults over 55 who already had mild, often undiagnosed, impairment. Second connection: protein and the narrowing pipes. Excess protein metabolism, especially from animal sources, creates a condition researchers call renal acid load. The body produces more acid, and the kidneys must work harder to eliminate it and keep the blood's pH balanced. What does this excess acid do to the kidney's blood vessels? It inflames them and makes them stiff, accelerating the same process of arteriole narrowing we discussed earlier. The pipes were already narrowing due to age and pressure. Excess protein makes them narrow even faster. Third connection: protein and the sleeping guardian. Excess animal protein, especially processed meats, cold cuts, and low-quality protein powders, activates systemic inflammatory markers. Remember the tired guard? The one who no longer responds properly? Excess processed protein is like adding noise to the environment where he's trying to sleep. It doesn't truly wake him, it just destabilizes him further. It increases low-grade inflammation and adds stress to a system that already lacks its previous capacity to respond. Research published in the Nutrients Journal in 2021 found that partially replacing animal protein with plant protein in adults over 60 was associated with a reduction in kidney-related inflammatory markers by 18% to 23% in just 16 weeks. Not years, just 16 weeks. Before moving on, let's go back for a moment to Carmen. Do you remember Carmen from Guadalajara, the one who sent me that message? When I asked her what had changed in her diet over the past 2 or 3 years, she told me something I hear all the time. Her son had recommended she start taking protein powder every day to prevent muscle loss with age. She started with 1 scoop, then 2. Later, a relative suggested she also eat more meat to complement it. There was no excess salt, no alcohol, no negligence. just an unregulated excess of protein in a 63-year-old kidney that already had accumulated wear and tear. When we adjusted her intake, not eliminating protein, and this is key, but regulating it, and distributed it properly throughout the day, using the right sources, her kidney markers improved noticeably within 3 months. Her doctor confirmed it in her lab results. Carmen didn't eliminate protein. She learned how to use it. That difference changes everything. Now let's get practical. What does a day of eating look like that protects the kidneys after 60 without eliminating protein or turning your life into a complicated routine? At the start of the day, before breakfast, have 1 glass of warm or room temperature water, just 1. Not 3 glasses at once to clean the kidneys. That's a myth and can actually overload the filtration system early in the morning. 1 glass gently signals the kidneys to begin working. The third mistake is eliminating salt completely without medical guidance. When people hear their kidneys aren't doing well, they often cut out all salt immediately. But the kidneys need a minimum level of sodium to regulate internal pressure. If sodium drops too quickly, the renin-angiotensin system reacts by retaining fluid to compensate, which can actually increase pressure inside the kidney's blood vessels, the very thing we're trying to avoid. Salt restriction can be helpful, but it should be gradual, guided, and based on blood tests, not sudden and self-imposed. Be honest. If you think about it, which of these 3 mistakes have you been making? It's not your fault. Most people follow advice given with good intentions. The problem was never your effort. The problem was incomplete information. Before continuing, there's something important I need to tell you. Something that, for me, is not just a formality, but something real. There are situations where what we've discussed today needs to be adjusted under direct medical supervision, and it's important that you understand this clearly. If you have a confirmed diagnosis of chronic kidney disease at stage 3 or higher, meaning your doctor has already told you that your kidney function is significantly compromised, then protein adjustments must be made with a nephrologist or a specialized renal nutritionist. The amounts mentioned here are for prevention, not for treating advanced disease. If you are taking AC inhibitors such as enalapril, lisinopril, or ramipril, or angiotensin receptor blockers like losartan or valsartan, managing potassium in your diet becomes critical and should not be done on your own. Some of the fruits and vegetables mentioned here are high in potassium and may interact with these medications. If you have type 2 diabetes with microalbuminuria, protein in the urine, your protein protocol is different from the standard one and requires constant monitoring. And if you are taking metformin or other glucose-lowering medications and plan to change your diet, make sure your doctor is aware before you begin. That said, for most people watching this, those who do not have advanced kidney disease and simply want to protect their health before problems arise, everything we've discussed is applicable, safe, and supported by evidence. If you are in that group, and you likely are, you can start today. Now let's move to one of my favorite parts of this kind of discussion, the allies. These are 4 foods or habits that are not the main solution, but when combined with what you've already learned, they significantly amplify the results. The first ally is cranberries, either red or blue depending on what's available in your region. They contain compounds called proanthocyanidins, which have a specific action on the walls of the urinary tract and on low-grade inflammation in kidney tissue. A study published in 2016 found that regular cranberry consumption was associated with reduced oxidative stress in older adults with borderline kidney function. This connects with the 3 forces we discussed. It reduces the inflammatory load, protects vascular walls, and adds 0 protein burden to the filter. About half a cup, 3 to 4 times a week, with breakfast or as a snack, is enough. The second ally is raw garlic. It may sound familiar, but there is a specific reason it matters for the kidneys. Garlic contains allicin, which has a documented vasodilatory effect on small blood vessels, including the renal arterioles we discussed earlier. The pipes that were narrowing can benefit from this effect. 1 clove of raw garlic per day, if tolerated, either on an empty stomach or grated over food, can have a measurable impact on intraglomerular pressure. This is not folklore. It's biochemistry. The third ally is gentle movement after meals. This one surprises many people because it's not a food. Walking for 10 to 15 minutes after your main meal has a documented effect on regulating post-meal blood sugar. Why does this matter for the kidneys? Because chronically elevated glucose damages the tiny glomerular capillaries, one of the main mechanisms of kidney damage in diabetes. Even in people without diabetes, repeated spikes in blood sugar over time contribute to this damage. 10 minutes of light walking, not intense exercise, just movement, can directly support all three forces we discussed. The fourth ally is dandelion tea. This may be unexpected. In many places, dandelion grows as a wild plant and is often treated as a weed. However, it has mild, natural diuretic properties, and unlike pharmaceutical diuretics, it does not deplete potassium or overload the kidneys at typical doses. Research has confirmed its mild diuretic effect and its antioxidant properties, which help protect kidney tissue. 1 cup of dandelion infusion per day, preferably mid-morning, can support the filtration process without overloading it. Something you might have pulled out of your garden could actually be helping protect your kidneys. So, which of these 4 allies would you add first to your routine? Choose just one, the one that feels most accessible, and start tomorrow. Small, consistent steps matter more than doing everything at once. I promised you a simple 3-minute ritual you can do tonight. Here it is, 3 steps, 1 minute each. First, the decision. Before preparing dinner, ask yourself one question. What is the protein source for this meal? If it's red meat or processed meat, replace it just for tonight with eggs, chicken, fish, or legumes. Not forever, just tonight. One decision, 1 minute. Second, the review. After dinner, within 30 to 40 minutes, reflect on how much water you drank today. Not precisely, just roughly. More than 3 glasses? Less than 2? If you drank too little, have half a glass now. If you drank too much, don't drink more tonight and aim to distribute it better tomorrow. No apps, no tracking, just awareness. 1 minute of honest review. Third, the record. Open the Notes app on your phone or take a piece of paper and write down 3 words that describe how your body feels today. Not symptoms, sensations. Heavy, bloated, light, tired, energized. Write them down and include the date. Do this every night for 2 weeks. After 14 days, you'll begin to see patterns, and those patterns can tell you more about your daily kidney function than you might expect. This is not a diagnosis. It's awareness, and awareness is the first step toward real change. 3 minutes tonight, that's all. Let's return to Carmen, 63 years old, from Guadalajara, the one who asked, "How is it possible that my kidneys are damaged if I never felt anything?" Today we know that question has 3 answers. First, because the filter had been working for years with reduced capacity compared to when she was 40, and no one told her it needed different care. Second, because the pipes, her renal blood vessels, had been under pressure, and excess protein was accelerating their narrowing faster than her body could compensate. Third, because the guardian, her inflammatory defense system, had been inactive for years and nothing was supporting it to function properly. 3 silent forces working without warning. Once she understood this, Carmen made 3 changes. She distributed her protein intake across 3 meals instead of concentrating it at dinner. She replaced protein powder with eggs and legumes 4 days a week, and she began walking for 10 minutes after meals. Within 3 months, her lab results improved, and her doctor confirmed that the trend had reversed. It wasn't a miracle, an expensive supplement, or an extreme regimen. It was informed, consistent action. I don't want you to finish this feeling motivated, because motivation lasts a few days and then fades. I want you to finish this feeling informed and understood. If your kidneys are not in optimal condition, it's not because you failed, it's because no one gave you this map before. And just as damage happens silently, it can also be slowed or stopped silently, not with extreme changes or unsustainable sacrifices, but with small, repeated, well-directed decisions. Like water shaping rock over time, steady and patient. Starting today, before you go, 4 quick things. If this helped you, if you learned something new, recognized a mistake, or found an ally you can start tomorrow, acknowledge it. Share this with someone over 60 who is taking protein powder, has drastically reduced salt, or has been told their kidney function isn't optimal. They may need this information more than they realize. And most importantly, reflect on this. Which of the 3 forces affects you the most? The aging filter, the pressured pipes, or the sleeping guardian? Your answer matters because it points to where your attention should go next. We'll continue in the next one.